Hello everyone, and welcome to a quick review of how to solve systems of equations by elimination. So I've written up some steps for us. You start by writing the equation in standard form, and in many cases it's already given to us in that form, but just in case you would want to have it so that you have x first, then y, then c. So you want to make sure that the x terms are lined up, the y terms are lined up, and the constant terms are lined up. Then you want to multiply so that the coefficients of one variable are opposites. That means that I would want to get the same number but with different signs. And you can multiply one equation, both equations. Sometimes you don't even have to multiply at all. They've given it to you in that format. Then you want to add the equations together. And you're only going to have one variable left over. That's why we call it elimination, because you eliminate a variable. You solve for that variable that's remaining, then you substitute and solve to find the value of the other variable. So let's take a look at how this would work. So step one is already done for us. We have our x's, our y's, and then our constants. So now I need to multiply. So notice that they haven't really given us anything that's really useful. 7 and 5 are relatively prime and they don't have opposite signs. Same thing for the y's, the 12 and the 8. I can multiply to get 24 with both of those. So I think that's the way I'm going to go. So one's going to be positive 24 and the other is going to be negative 24. So this top equation I'm going to multiply by 2. And the bottom equation I'm going to multiply by negative 3. And what that's going to do is I'll get a positive 24 here and a negative 24 there, and I'll be able to add them and eliminate the y's. So I have to distribute the 2 to every term up here. 7 times 2 is 14. Negative 12 times 2 is negative 24. And negative 22 times 2 is negative 44. Now, negative 3 multiplied in here, I get negative 15x. Negative 3 times negative 8 is positive 24y. And negative 3 times negative 14 is positive 42. Okay, so notice what's going to happen when I add these two together. Now, side note, you don't always have to add, but I find that when people try to subtract, they make a lot of sign errors. So I always add. I always get those opposite signs and I always add because it's easier to avoid errors with your signs when you're adding. So 14 plus negative 15 is negative x. These will cancel, which is exactly what I wanted to do. I was eliminating the y's. They will cancel out, so they'll just disappear. And negative 44 plus 42 is negative 2. So I get negative x equals negative 2. And now I'll divide to get x alone because x still is multiplied by this negative 1. So dividing by negative 1, you get x is 2. So now that I know that x is 2, I can go on to step 5. I take this and put it back into one of my original equations. And again, it doesn't matter which one. I'm going to put it into the top equation. And you solve for the y that we eliminated earlier. So I have 7 times 2 minus 12y equals negative 22. So this is 14 minus 12y equals negative 22. I'll subtract the 14 to get it to the other side. Negative 12y equals negative 36. And then I'll divide by negative 12. So y is 3. Okay, so x is 2 and y is 3. Now, if you wanted to check your work, which I always recommend doing, I can come up here to my original equations. And I always use the originals. And just substitute 2 in for x and 3 in for y. So I would do 7 times 2 is 14. And 12 times 3 is 36. And 14 minus 36 is negative 22. So this top equation is correct. Now in the bottom equation, I will do 5 times 2 is 10. And negative 8 times 3 is negative 24. And 10 minus 24 is negative 14, which is what this said. So that is correct as well. So my answer is correct. So that's how you solve systems of equations by elimination.